What up, y'all? It's your boy, the one and only Switch, back at it again, bringing you yet another episode, 32 to be exact, of Switch's Sights. We getting so close to that turkey. We are getting so close to that damn turkey. It's just imminent now. It's only a matter of time. Today's date is November 21st, 2019. Pretty interesting week, to say the least. Had a lot of great announcements. So let's not dilly-dally and get into it. Let me feel myself clipping. My gate might be too high. Try that. That should be good. Okay, so first news. Guys, we did it. We did it. Half-Life 3 confirmed. Technically not Half-Life 3, but whatever. So basically, it was announced this week. I'm not sure if it was some Steam event or some surprise Steam event, but they did announce for Steam VR, specifically, Half-Life Alyx, which basically takes place, at least they released a trailer for it as well, which I saw, which was basically takes place in the story of Alyx Vance, one of the supporting characters from Half-Life 2. She is this game will take place between events of Half-Life 1 and 2, and I guess apparently explain what she was doing during that time while Gordon Freeman was, hitting head crabs with crowbars and whatnot. So that's pretty interesting. I'm definitely interested in that. Kind of surreal after all this time. We finally get a Half-Life game from Steam, or Valve actually. And it looks like the implementation of VR is pretty solid, from at least what they conveyed in the trailer. You have your typical reload your weapon manually with, actually physically doing it. And, it definitely sees some hints of that just Valve feel of everything, just that their unique touch and angle on things with, everything just being so more or less calculated, thought out, and just, well implemented. I guess that's pretty the best way to describe it. So it is going to be supported, which one thing I'm very surprised is that it's going to be supported by a wealthy range of VR devices. So that's including the Vive, Oculus Rift. I think Microsoft has a VR unit, as well as Valve's own Valve's own VR headset called the Steam Index. Valve or Steam Index. Let me double check that. Yeah, I believe it's the Steam Index. Yeah, a lot of them are pretty pricey in terms of trying to jump into VR, especially if you don't have a PC, because that's definitely what you'll need. But outside of that, not too bad of a barrier of entry. I think the cheapest, I was at least researching myself earlier today. I believe the cheapest you can go is roughly around a 300 range with the Oculus Rift S, I believe. So that's probably your best choice if you're, a PC user that has a pretty decent rig and are interested in playing this. But yeah, I'm definitely interested. I like the at least the proposed setting and plot. Kind of cool. It at least doesn't step on, I guess, technically the legacy of Half-Life, while also being a supplemental story, kind of somewhat being contained in itself. So I think it's a good choice. If it was any game that was really gonna, bring us, bring a killer app game for VR that, is a must play, definitely would be this. I'm obviously aware that there are a couple other killer apps worth playing on for VR in general, but at least this is one of the most notable that stands out for sure. That's a renowned IP that people are definitely familiar with. So pretty awesome. I wonder if we'll see Gordon Freeman. We probably will. He just won't say nothing. I'm guessing sticking to his character. Just, hey Gordon, how you doing? Just blank faced. Okay, all right then. All right, I guess you're doing well. All right. So yeah, it's kind of surreal, man. They are actually continuing Half-Life. Now this kind of leaves the door open, like what maybe they'll do Left 4 Dead. Even though the team that did originally make Left 4 Dead, they moved on to, I believe they made Evolve, which wasn't the biggest success, and then they moved are making Back 4 Blood, which is basically a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. So if anything, we'll still get that fixed at some point. But nonetheless, that's pretty cool, pretty awesome. And I think I forgot. Yeah, I totally skipped over the or actually no. Yeah, we'll cover this. So yeah, they did it's a big rumor that just came out actually today. Basically that there is well, at least the heavily rumored Resident Evil 3 remake actually is getting a little bit more traction and credence now to the rumor. Basically Spawn Wave, who's the somewhat of a, I believe it's the YouTube channel Spawn Wave. Let me try to fact check that real quick. I think it's yeah, Spawn Wave. Okay, yeah. So yeah, he basically reconfirmed that Resident Evil 3 remake is in development and set to release in 2020. This is apparently the guy that did release or leak the rumor that the Dark Souls creator Hideki, let me fact check. Dark Souls creator Hideki Miyazaki. Yeah, Hidetaka Miyazaki, who's the renowned creator of the Dark Souls series, and the rumor that he was working with J.R.R. Martin or George R.R. Martin for somewhat of a game called, well, now that we know, is called Elden Ring, which basically is somewhat a little bit of Dark Souls, at least people are assuming, with mixed with a more fantasy as core, obviously a George R.R. Martin taste spin to it, if you will. So gonna be pretty interesting, at least on that respect. But I mean, a lot of us were suspecting this. I know there's a lot of weird suspicions and rumors to this, but I mean, at this point, I think it will only make sense. I mean, especially riding on the coattails of the immense success of Resident Evil 2 remake. It will be, I think it's a smart move to kind of keep riding that hype train for Resident Evil. And yeah, just go ahead and release this third title. I don't see why not. Makes sense in terms of that. Yeah, I think it's definitely real in my opinion. I don't see why it wouldn't. Maybe people were probably suspecting like, oh, maybe it's gonna be too long to needs more space between Resident Evil 2 or something like that, possibly. But I think it's fine just releasing the year after, especially now that we're on the cusp of the end of this generation of consoles, because obviously the dawn of the new consoles will be starting next year. So curious if this is going to maybe be a hybrid cross-gen release title, or they're just going to try to churn this out before the release of the next consoles, which at least for the PS5 so far will be confirmed to be backwards compatible anyway. So that does kind of release some of that pressure in theory. But I guess we'll see kind of how that plays out in general. But yeah, I'm definitely hyped though. I welcome a Resident Evil 3 remake gladly. Getting this Resident Evil 2 just with a nemesis just chasing you throughout the whole damn game, which yeah, that don't sound like fun. I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it structure in the same way they did in the original, where he'll probably come at, you know, particular segments, maybe to a greater extent, similar to Mr. X. But maybe it might be some weird, unique dynamic aspect of it where he probably has more reign than Mr. X had in Resident Evil 2 remake. But overall, it's pretty cool. I'm guessing for sure it's probably going to be at least some teaser at the Game Awards to some extent. That's at least what I would think. But good news to hear though. As a big Resident Evil fan, I am hyped for it. In line with this game possibly being announced at the Game Awards, they did release the Game Awards nominees this past Tuesday. So let's kind of go over them, because boy, some of these not too many. Some of these I highly disagree with. But yeah, so let's check it out. Let's go for some stats though. For the most nominated games, Death Stranding. I guess the big surprise to no one. I know now a lot of people are probably suspecting like, oh my god, yeah, oh well, because Jeff Keighley did make a cameo in the game. Obviously, he's gonna have a favoritism or some favoritism towards the game being nominated. But to his credit, the Game Awards isn't decided by him, or at least it's assumed that he doesn't have any say in terms of voting or who is getting put in the nomination list. At least according to his site, and you know, from what I researched, it looks like he has a pretty well-rounded range of folks in terms of within the game industry, from media and from some development standpoints as well. But from overall, I was very impressed in terms of just the whole range of nominees. I mean, jury that, you know, helping decide in the vote for these games in terms of who is the winner. Like, it goes from Brazil, UK, Japan, just literally around the whole world, which I was very surprised by. I didn't even know the jury ranged that far in terms of just that, you know, being around the world basically. I literally thought it was just the US and probably, you know, just mainly the main outlets, media in the US, like, you know, Kotaku, Polygon, Game Informer, Easy Allies, and stuff like that. So pretty cool to see it be a much bigger range than that. So at least kind of hitting up some statistics, if I could speak today. Or the most nominated games. Yeah, I did touch on that a little bit earlier. But yeah, Death Stranding, and then Control. I'm very surprised by Control. It was a pretty good game. I had a great time with it too. The same for Death Stranding. I think they both do deserve to be in these, you know, being the most nominated. They did do a lot of cool, daring, different things that I think a lot of us did respect in terms of from a game design standpoint. So probably the biggest category game of the year. We do have Control, Death Stranding, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and The Outer Worlds. So out of those, my personal pick probably would be, at least with the omission of not playing Outer Worlds yet. I played pretty much all of them. I'm actually surprised I didn't play most of these. Probably be Resident Evil 2. I think that's the one that I definitely played over and over again and thoroughly enjoyed, especially kind of being able to reminisce and, you know, experiencing the story in a whole new way and a different twist and spin on some of your expectations. I think it yeah, definitely balanced a great line of bringing in the old with the new and kind of making it its own thing, or basically making it a new game for this generation, which I think it did well. Did a great job of balancing making a new game while at the same time you know, not changing too much to, you know, take away from the identity of what made that game great back in the day. So that ultimately would be my pick for game of the year. But yeah, I think I won't not necessarily spoil it, but I do plan to probably do some game of the year, maybe countdown to some extent. Maybe that kind of gave it away. But there are a couple games I'm still trying to get through to come to a conclusive decision, including, yeah, like I said, Outer Worlds, Star Wars Jedi The Fallen Order, Shenmue 3, maybe Pokemon. Might be in my lower priority list, but still. So yeah, best game direction. We got Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Outer Wilds. And that was another one too. I need to play Outer Wilds. That's kind of on my list as well. I forgot what the I guess scale to dictate this is, and kind of like what what's the difference between this and game of the year, because they essentially kind of feel like the same thing. I guess it's in terms of just the general resulting product and how everything cohesively came together to some extent. That's at least my assumption, but hard to say. If based off that assumption of what this award is, or award category is, I would probably best game direction. It would probably be I'm leaning towards, I'd probably give it to Control, in terms of just how they laid that game out. I think it's worthy of that. I kind of still want to do Resident Evil 2 again, though, in terms of just the creativity and, yeah, just direction of how they made the game. I think it is credible and exceptional in terms of how that game was made. I don't know. I think I'd have to go Resident Evil 2 again. If I had a better understanding of what this category is, which I think they probably do tell you when you vote, that's at least what I would probably ultimately get a go for again. Best narrative, A Plague Tale: Innocence, Control, Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, and The Outer Worlds. So only going solely off the games I played, I probably would give it to probably would give it to Death Stranding. I did thoroughly enjoy the story. It did keep me going to beat the ultimately beat the game. And yeah, it's definitely neck and neck for me between Death Stranding and Control. I did like Control's story, but I don't know. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably, yeah, go with Death Stranding more. Just, you know, with the zaniness of Death Stranding and, you know, Hideo Kojima's touch on it. That's probably what I ultimately would go with, at least so far. Still have some time for me to kind of knock out some of these other games, but that's at least initially what I go with. Best art direction. Well, there's Control, Death Stranding, Gris, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. I'm kind of surprised Resident Evil wasn't in this one. I think it, you know, obviously with the stellar RE engine, I think it's worthy for a nomination. but probably I'd give it to Death Stranding here. Just the graphics of that game were stellar. Just the whole design of the worlds and where you're exploring were just, surreal, I'd say. And just the most notable out of all of these games I played. So that's probably what I would give it to there. Best score music. Cadence of Hyrule, Death Stranding, Devil May Cry 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, Sayonara Wild Hearts. I'd probably have to give it to Devil May Cry 5 here. I thoroughly enjoyed the music, score, and soundtrack of the game out of all of these that I did play. Death Stranding was up there, but I don't think not enough to overrule, pull my devil trigger. Ooh, ooh. I don't know clearly I don't know how the song goes, but yeah, that's probably at least what I would pick there. Best audio design, we got Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Control, Death Stranding, Gears 5, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. This is a little tough. It's a lot of worthy ones here. It's probably Call of Duty Modern Warfare is gonna be up there. And probably I'd have to go Resident Evil 2 as well. Just the excellent audio direction, at least specifically for Resident Evil 2, when you got freaking Tyrant, you can hear him walking up or below you, which is great. Especially, if you have a Dolby Atmos going on with a higher level of higher audio channel level. That's a pretty great experience, and just the overall sound design in general is pretty excellent. And then Modern Warfare, which just has great sounds with all the guns. All the guns feel and sound good. I know they went into detail in some of the interviews about like how much detail they actually went into some of the audio and how much work they put into it, and it does show, at least from the playing the campaign and the multiplayer as well. Control was pretty good. It didn't stand out. It wasn't anything significant to me, and based off that, I that's why I wouldn't put it there, or at least put it on my top list. And Gears 5 is actually pretty excellent too, but nothing that just generally stood out. Sekiro was pretty good also, but again, nothing that necessarily stood out for me. So I'd say it is definitely between Modern Warfare and Resident Evil 2. I ultimately would probably I'd probably give it to Call of Duty, because I think it in general, from an overall audio design standpoint, I think it did the best job out of everything. Then best performance, we got Ashley Birch as Parvati Holcomb, The Outer Worlds, Courtney Hope as Jesse Fadden in Control, Laura Bailey as Kate Diaz, Gears 5, Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff, Death Stranding, Matthew Porretta as Dr. Casper Darling, Control, and Norman Reedus as Sam Porter Bridges, Death Stranding. I think there were some more worthy folks for this category, not to take away or detract from the people that are nominated here, but for some of the games I did play, I definitely think Mads Mikkelsen out of this is probably my choice. But one that I think deserves it maybe slightly more than him was Tommy Earl Jenkins from Death Stranding as well. I think he did a stellar performance, and he probably had the most voice work in the game, I'd say, in terms of, he's basically your main point of contact throughout most of the game as well. So that probably would be it for me. Ultimately, I have to give it to Mads. I'd probably give it to Mads at the end of the day. He did have a pretty great performance in the game too. So ultimately, that's who I give it to. Best action game. Got Apex Legends, Astro Chain. I didn't even know Astro Chain got nominated. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Devil May Cry 5, Gears 5, Metro Exodus. It's kind of tough. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Damn. It's probably between Devil May Cry 5. That's tough. Devil May Cry 5 and Call of Duty. That's probably, yeah, I have to give it Devil May Cry 5. Best action game. That's probably the game I thoroughly had the best experience out of the whole category. Didn't have much time to play Astro Chain as I wanted to. Maybe it would have been knocked up there, but I'm surprised Astro Chain got nominated. I didn't catch that. Good on Astro Chain though. Yeah, I'd have to give it to Devil May Cry 5. I think it deserves it the most. Just the whole overall art direction, just the gameplay is deep. Yeah, definitely Devil May Cry 5. Yeah, hands down. I had to think about it some more. Best action adventure game: Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Didn't play Borderlands or Legend of Zelda. So out of this, I'd have to give it to Resident Evil 2. Sekiro was pretty good, don't get me wrong, but yeah, something about Resident Evil 2 just really resonated with me more as an action adventure game, and I played it multiple times. So based off that, I definitely have to give it to Resident Evil 2. Best RPG: Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy 14, Kingdom Hearts 3, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, The Outer Worlds. I'd have to definitely give it to Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Definitely, probably the only game out of this list I did play. But hands down, for sure, had a thoroughly great experience with it. I've still got more to go with it, but from what I played, definitely hands down. I technically beat the game outside of the end game stuff, but yeah, definitely hands down. I think it's gonna win. For sure thinks that's gonna take it. Ooh, it might be. I hear a lot of good praise about the recent expansion for Final Fantasy 14 as well, and Disco Elysium. Actually, it could be up in the air. I know a lot of people are liking Disco Elysium as well, so it's up there. But ultimately, yeah, personally, I give it to Monster Hunter World there. Best fighting game. Now this one I have a little bit of an issue with. You'll know why in a bit. So we have Dead or Alive 6, legitimate. Jump Force. This is probably okay. So this is the one of these. One of these is not like the other. It's definitely this one, because like, I can't recall anybody that thoroughly enjoys Jump Force outside of when it came out, and having the staying power, which I think is a pretty good judgment point for the nominees for this category. I'm not sure if there was some dirty money loitered around, or I don't know. This seemed a little rigged to me, because this stands out like a sore ass thumb. I'm just saying, nobody who is vetting for this game, who is vetting for Jump Force. I want to know, because from what I heard in terms of just overall just presentation and design of the game, it does not deserve to be here. There's a more worthwhile games that deserve this spot that this game unrightfully took, or a better deserving fighting game, I'd say. I'm trying to think what deserves to come out, or it deserves to be in this spot instead, which Soul Calibur 6, I think Soul Calibur 6 came out this year, definitely. That alone, I think Soul Calibur 6 deserves to be here instead, for sure. Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Probably out of these, I definitely would go with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Considering this game missed the deadline to be considered for the award last year, since it came out like the day right after the awards. But yeah, I definitely would give it to Smash Bros. Ultimate. Just the amount of care and attention put in that game. Probably the biggest roster of a game in a long time. what it's coming close to 80, I believe, when we get more and more DLC characters with, I guess, each new one. And all the DLC characters have been pretty great. Overall, yeah, I have to give it to Smash Ultimate. That's the one I played the most and had the most fun with out of the mentioned titles. So, best family game, aka best, or mine's well be best Nintendo game. Luigi's Mansion 3, Ring Fit Adventure, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Yoshi's Crafted World. I am very surprised by Ring Fit Adventure. I've been hearing lots of positivity about this game. I thought it was just going to be like some knockoff, throwaway fit game, like, you know, Wii Fit and all the other previous, you know, fitness games before it. But apparently, this game is the bee's knees. Could that be interpreted as a joke, as a pun? I mean, that's what I just acknowledged it in my head. Maybe it wasn't, but you know what I was saying. Hopefully, I don't know. But yeah, this is I'm definitely wanting to try this out if I ever get the opportunity to, or I see the opportunity. I probably would pick this up and check it out. But pretty much out of all these, I've not played. Oh, I did play with Super Mario Maker. Didn't play too much of it though. Other games came out and I forgot about it. So for me personally, yeah, I'd probably give it to Smash Bros. Ultimate there. But yeah, this is straight up best Nintendo game. Might as well, because clearly all Nintendo IP. Best strategy game, we got Age of Wonders, Planetfall, Anno 1800, Fire Emblem, The Three Houses, Total War, Three Kingdoms, Tropico 6, and Wargroove. Out of these, I probably, just based off of past experience, I have to give it a Fire Emblem. I haven't played it yet, but I do want to play it. Wargroove is probably the second one, because it's the same people that I believe made Advance Wars. That would probably be my second pick. But yeah, ultimately I have to give it to Fire Emblem, Three Houses. Best sports racing game. Actually, let's go back. Yeah, who I think will win, I'm pretty certain it's gonna be Fire Emblem. I think so. May got some maybe Wargroove, or maybe the underdog that might win it. Hard to say. Best sports racing game, we got Crash Team Racing, Dirt Rally 2.0, eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, F1 2019, and FIFA 20. Probably out of these, I'm just going off of the game I would want to play out of all of these, and that would be Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. That's my only judgment call there, because none of these games I would otherwise play. Kind of disappointed. The one racing game, what is it called? Not Danger Zone. That's a part of it. Dangerous Driving. I think it's Dangerous Driving, which is basically the same people that made Burnout, or the spiritual successor to Burnout. I think that should have deserved to be up there in this list, because it was pretty fun. I never played it technically, but from what I saw, it was pretty fun. So I guess I clearly don't have any judgmental standpoint here. Best multiplayer game, Apex Legends, Borderlands 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, and Tom Clancy's The Division 2. It's gonna be between Apex and Call of Duty Modern Warfare for me. I had a good time with Apex, but I think it's just my gripe with Battle Royale games that I just never seem to stick with. So based off of that principle alone, I'd have to personally go with Modern Warfare. But I'm pretty sure Apex is gonna win it ultimately at the end of the day. I think people have been ranting and raving about the game. The game is free, so therefore way more accessible to a lot more people than it would otherwise. Yeah, I think ultimately Apex Legends is gonna win it for sure. But personally, my personal pick would be Call of Duty. I had a great time so far. I still have some to get to the max prestige, or I'm not even 100% sure how that actually plays out, since I haven't maxed it out yet, but I'm somewhat, I think, close. I believe it's 55. I'm not sure if it's, from what I've seen, there might be some meta game where it since there isn't a prestige system anymore, that you can go higher than that or something like that, but I believe it's 55. But I still have yet to get there, just with all these great, stellar, excellent, magnificent games coming out. It's been tough. But yeah, those are the only two I technically have played out of these, but those would be my picks in general. Fresh indie game studio, ZA/UM, or I don't know if it's ZA/M for Disco Elysium, Nomada Studios for Gris, Dead Toast Entertainment for my friend Pedro, why did I do that? Mobius Digital for Outer Wilds, Mega Crit for Slay the Spire, and House for Untitled Goose Game. So actually, none of these I've technically played, but from going based off of a window shopper standpoint, I probably personally would give it to my friend Pedro, since that seems like, which I technically have, but I've yet to pay, which probably be my pick, just based off on what I've seen. It'd be the most up my alley. But again, what I've seen, I've not necessarily played, so I might try to fit Outer Wilds in, because I've heard so damn much about this game. But I think it's gonna ultimately be between Outer Wilds and Disco Elysium. That's at least what I've been hearing the most ranting and raving about and praise about from an indie game standpoint. So it's good that this game kind of has its own category for these standout titles, and given these studios the proper recognition they definitely deserve. I think Outer Wilds will win it from what I've heard, but then again, Disco Elysium is just as good. I don't know if Disco Elysium might have that fresh in your head advantage compared to Outer Worlds, which came out I think around the summer this year. But hard to say. Probably a close third will probably be Untitled Goose Game, even though it's more of a meme surgeon simulator type game, if you will, that's kind of more dependent on the player of the game more so than the game itself, even though the game itself I hear is a delight, even though it's pretty short and takeable. Let's go with that. I might have to try that out at some point, probably maybe sooner than later. Games for Impact. I guess it's kind of unclear what this category is for, I guess the rulings of this category to be considered for this category, but I guess games that explore not interesting, but not even controversial, but awareness of real world things. I guess that's at least the most I can interpret from this category. And for that, you have Concrete Genie, Gris, Kind Worlds, Life is Strange 2, and Sea of Solitude. So I don't know what I would pick. I just based off of just straight up familiarity, I'd have to give it to Life is Strange 2, because that's just the title I recognize the most out of these. But outside of that, I really wouldn't have any say so. I don't think you have to judge for every category. I just recalled that. Not that I would just falsely judge. Well, I'm sure people would do that though. Best ongoing game: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. I'd have to give it to you because considering this category, I think your determining factor of the winner is just the greatest improvement from year to year, and being able to consistently improve upon the game in a respectable manner, or community outcry, if you will, depending on the game, from year to year. And based off that specifically, I just have to give it to Apex Legends in general. That's probably the game I played the most out of this. Overall, I hope Fortnite doesn't win. That game is so damn oversaturated. It does not deserve any more attention. Just stop it, Fortnite. Just stop it. Kind of a shame Overwatch isn't in here, but I guess ultimately it just was ruled out. You know. True that, Morris. True that, man. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Best independent game, Baba Is You, Disco Elysium, Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game. So I guess this is a second chance compared to games, fresh indie game studio, but yet again another opportunity to kind of spread the love for some of the indie game people, which is a good thing to see in my opinion. I think. Probably out of these that I would pick, probably would be, but I technically haven't played any of these games. At least who I think will win. Yeah, again, it would ultimately I think be down to Disco Elysium and Outer Wilds. Yeah, it's gonna be between those. I think Outer Wilds will slip in the win there. But I don't know. I think they're going to spread it out evenly. So, like, Outer Wilds is probably going to get Best Indie Game, and Disco Elysium is probably going to get Fresh Indie Game Studio, or vice versa. I would assume. Unless it's just that still of a game. Who knows? Then we got Best Mobile Game, Call of Duty Mobile, Grindstone, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Sky, Children of Light, and What the Golf? One surprising omission that I'm very surprised that isn't in here is Teppen. I've heard from at least the FGC community and just overall the game itself. I think this game definitely deserves to be in here. At least from what I played, I didn't play too much, but if I had more time, I'd find myself playing that way more. But out of the mentioned titles here, I'd probably definitely would go with Call of Duty Call of Duty Marble coming to a store near you. Call of Duty Mobile, because man, I am just thoroughly surprised by how well that game implemented on a phone. Whoever made this game, well, obviously Timmy Studios / Activision, give them they deserve some good credit for just the implementation of this game to the mobile platform, especially as someone who plays Call of Duty mainly on the console or always on console. This is actually a pretty worthwhile game to play on mobile, I'd say. I thoroughly had a great time with it when I was inconvenienced and just had some time to burn. I was like, you know what, let me try Call of Duty Mobile, see what this game's about. It's kind of like the greatest hits of Call of Duty, which, man, if they actually 1 year just decide to do that, just Call of Duty, some Call of Duty, generations or something, that'd be a pretty dope game. Playing all the best maps out of all the studios from Infinity Ward and Treyarch. Well, not Sledgehammer anymore, but just the classic tried and true maps, and then some of the characters and weapons. That's gonna happen at some point. And when things get low on Call of Duty and like interest just wanes at some point, that's definitely a pretty good safe in case of emergency break glass solution, I'd say. Kind of the spike interest back up if that were to be lost. So that would be my pick. Out of who I guess will win, I'm guessing Sayonara Wild Hearts will probably take it ultimately. I've heard a lot of people ranting and raving about that in particular out of everything, but personally I would go with Call of Duty Mobile. Best community support. So I'm assuming the grading scale for this is just response to community outcry of particular aspects of said game. And for that category, we have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Out of these, I don't feel these are great examples necessarily in terms of some drastic stuff that happened that, or I guess maybe that would speak to me being out of the loop of these games in general, really. But I feel like I want to really give it to Rainbow Six Siege. I just feel like the support for that game has been immense and incredible in terms of just their passion and support of the game and pretty much all of what that kind of entails. So I personally really want to give it to Rainbow Six Siege because, at least from what I've seen, that seems to be the game that's kind of given the most positive kind of feedback and implementation from what I've noticed. At least probably second would maybe be Apex Legends, and I guess Destiny 2 as well to some extent. But Bethesda, no. Somebody just put that as a troll vote. Like, why is there 20,000 votes for Bethesda? That just doesn't add up. Did Fallout 76? They do something to Fallout 76 that quick? Oh man, that turnaround. I don't know how that worked. For best VR AR game, Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth, Beat Saber, No Man's Sky, and Trover Saves the Universe. Personally, at least from the games that I found interesting, at least that I have yet to play, I have not jumped on the VR bandwagon yet. Probably be Blood and Truth. That seemed like a game I definitely would play if I had VR. I played Beat Saber. Beat Saber was pretty fun. Trover Saves the Universe, that seems a game that'd be up my alley as well. But overall, I personally would give it to Blood and Truth just based off the game I would play out of these. But as to what will win, probably Beat Saber. That seems to be the most popular out of this selection. Maybe what No Man's Sky being under there, but I would assume probably Beat Saber. Maybe Beat Saber, Blood and Truth. At least that would be my assumed pick. So cool. Those are all the nominees for the Game Awards. It's pretty cool. I'm planning to be there at least. I did get my ticket since I am in the area, so that's gonna be a pretty good time. If I ever get, if Jeff Keighley want to get me to present one of the awards, I mean, just put me out there. I'm just saying, if you see this, Jeff, just if you need somebody, if you need like a third string, somebody don't show up, some of the superstars don't show up. I'm just saying, I'll if I have to, okay. If I ultimately have to. I don't want to, but if I must, I guess. Moving on. Looks like apparently some patents for the PlayStation 5 controller are out. I'm surprised there isn't much more control, but from what it looks like just a wider version of the DualShock 4. At least it looks like there is a touchpad, or the touchpad is coming back, which is, I think, a lot of people were surprised by, since it's like just been a glorified map button at this point. What seems to be noticeably missing is the light bar, or touch bar, if you will. At least from the second revision of the PlayStation 4's design, it seems like where you can see the light bar at the top, that aspect of the design at least is not there. Maybe at the top it is still, but from what these diagrams show, it looks like it is not in. So I do like the look of it though. It looks more heftier, more ergonomic, and like, I guess at least for a guy with big hands, big hand friendly, which I don't have an issue with. But at the same time, it's not overbearing for, standard size hands, I guess. So overall, yeah, it's cool. I just wish they maybe give you an option for an elite version, or maybe come with an elite version down the line. That would be great. I could see myself swapping them sticks out, which I did for the PS4 controllers with the Xbox One controllers, because I just like the feel and texture of the Xbox One sticks over the PS4 sticks. But yeah, outside of that, I'm okay with it. The touchpad seems to be much wider than it is on the PS4 as well. I'm not sure what the reasoning was there. And then you do have the speaker, which was utilized in a fair amount of games too. There's this weird new notch below the PS button. I'm not sure what that is. There are some details. Smaller sticks. So I guess apparently the thumbsticks are smaller than the DualShock 4, which maybe that might make it more comfortable for somebody like me, but it's hard to say. A USB port and larger triggers. I think it said that it had USB-C as well, I want to say. But that doesn't seem to be confirmed yet. Well, since it's only just the patent, they don't give you all the hardcore details really, I guess. But overall, that's fine. I'm cool with it. I doubt it, especially with it, with the PS5 being confirmed to be backwards compatible. It would make sense for its form factor to be pretty close in line with the DualShock 4. And then again, most of the console iterations of PlayStation, of the PlayStation, didn't deviate too drastically from its design generation to generation. Really, probably the biggest jump will probably be PS3 to PS4. From a controller design standpoint, that's technically the biggest notable design change, really. But after that, I mean, if they ain't broke, don't fix it, really. D-pad is pretty decent, has been pretty decent. I'm okay with it, if it actually is to be what it looks like. But I guess that's kind of TBD, aka to be determined. So, next topic of discussion, I don't even know what you call him at this point. This dude is just like a private eye investigator incarnate, aka Jason Schreier. He dropped some of them deets, as he always does, in terms of plans, specifically with BioWare. Got some good details. So apparently, for I guess it was somewhat of a critical failure, to some extent, really. But then, at least not even a commercial failure, really. I believe Anthem sold pretty well overall, but from a general retention standpoint, Anthem, which has not been in most gamers' good graces, I'd say that's a pretty safe assumption. Apparently, they are planning a complete overhaul for Anthem to, apparently get it in gamers' good graces again. Since I believe a lot of people didn't really like the loop of the game. There were some aspects of the game that were very just annoying, like artificially making the game longer in terms of their loot systems and things like that. At least what I've heard. I never got the game. I was suspicious about it, and I guess lo and behold, that evidently came to be. So I could see it. It's a game. It seems like a game that could turn around with enough support. And obviously at the end of the day, if the game proves to be legitimate and fun to play, with the implementations they make, it would only make sense for it to kind of pick traction and, hey guys, this game is actually pretty good. Let's play it again. And then, everybody, I guess eventually comes back on at some point. I don't know. But, I'm very interested to see how this comes to be. This would be one of the very few games that kind of comes back from, just a stigma of not being that great of a game, because I can't even think of one that necessarily is that was horrible and got recovered and had a great resurgence. I know it's something that I'm not thinking of right now that had like a really bad start and then somewhat kind of came through it and actually was legitimate legitimately good. I guess technically Fortnite would be that, because I know it did start out as a tower defense game, and then then they like, oh man, this is not going good. Let's a battle royale. That's clearly what they said when they was having meetings. They were like, let's not go battle royale. They just somebody blurted it out. Like, okay, all right, and then clearly that was a good decision for them. So, but that's like a light striking lightning in a bottle type thing. I don't think you can replicate that easily. I think Rainbow Six Siege to some extent. Yeah, I don't think it had the greatest initial success, but definitely as time passed, I think it did pick up a lot of steam too. But if anything, it is possible, but I don't know. It just seems to be a lot of adversity to overcome to kind of reach that success. But definitely wish the best for, BioWare that it does come to be. So if said rumors are true. Then next on the list is in line with BioWare news. Apparently a new Mass Effect is in early development at BioWare as well. A keyword, new Mass Effect game in very early development under director Mike Gable, a longtime BioWare producer, according to Jason Schreier. So, okay. I mean, obviously, it had the stigma of Mass Effect Andromeda, which I luckily dodged that bullet too. I have played the mainline Mass Effect games 1 through 3, or original trilogy. So hopefully it probably, I'm pretty sure this title is probably gonna disavow all knowledge of Andromeda, considering how hard of a flop it was. So I'm curious to see if this actually is or comes to be what it is actually, or if it's gonna actually try to attempt to continue the Andromeda story, which probably a lot of people skipped because of the reception of the game. So that's gonna be a sight to behold, if anything. So we'll see. Next on the list, Phil Spencer, at least in line with the greatness that was XO19, which was surprisingly pretty good from a announcement standpoint, for a lot of delightful surprises. Not something like just crazy, like, are you insane right now? But legitimate, like, okay, all right, Phil, okay, Yakuza, all right, Phil, okay, Kingdom Hearts, okay, Phil, all right, Final Fantasy, you say, okay, all right, you pull out the big guns, are you, sir? Okay, all right, I see you out here, Phil. So in line with acquiring all the studios, like from the announcement at E3, I want to say 2 years ago, Phil is still looking for more people. Phil Spencer is like, is the Nick Fury, the Nick Fury of Xbox. Like, hey, Capcom, Platinum Games, I want you to join the Xbox initiative. If you dare to save our save our drowning console. I can't say that Xbox necessarily isn't drowning. It's definitely lost out of the console war between PlayStation for sure, but I think it's legitimately sustaining itself and gaining traction on its feet, especially with Game Pass. And boy, man, if you're on the fence, I'm gonna say it again. If you're on the fence with Game Pass, these past few months, if XO19 didn't sell you on Game Pass, I don't know what will, because man, it is a lot of fire and heat coming for Game Pass. That is going to be a serious threat in terms of what PS Now. If Sony don't get their act together and work on a plan, make that more legitimate, sustainable, what have you. So but yeah, particularly in terms of the studios he's looking for, especially in Asia. So any Asian companies, give Phil that ring. I don't know why I feel like I'm a conduit for Phil or something. Like, I know Phil like that. Like, hey Phil, I'm like Phil asked me to tell y'all on the podcast, like, hey, if anybody looking for some games to make for Phil exclusively, get that Xbox money, just let me know. I'll put in a good word for you. I'll give you a recommendation. That is far from the case. Very far from the case, but I digress. In line with that, the Sonic movie redesign, which I totally forgot to mention last episode, apparently cost $5 million to do the whole redesigns for the character. For the new trailer that came out that did show the redesign of Sonic character, I will have to say the changes were very worth it, and I think in the long run will definitely recoup probably the lost money. Just churning that movie out. Maybe it probably would have made a profit still, but maybe not as much as if it's going to, I think, now. And I think I really, really love the message this sends to fans of Sonic, in terms of just like, oh boy, yet another game series they're gonna ruin in movie form for fans of the movie or fans of the series, who obviously are probably, I'd say, arguably the biggest demographic for this movie. I mean, obviously you have just general, maybe loose fans who are familiar with Sonic and maybe somewhat remotely interested, like maybe to take their kids to the movie to see it or something like that. But still, I think the key demographic you're mainly pointing or looking to get are people who played Sonic like on the back in the day on the Genesis and whatnot. So that's a big costly I don't even know what to say. It's a big detriment of cost, but I mean, at the same time, the ends kind of justified the means, because I'd rather have this than this new redesign than boy, just creepy, weird, ugly, fugly Sonic. I'd take that any day. The design looks way better. The attention to detail to some of his tendencies from the game, like little Easter eggs here and there. Overall, I'd say night and day changes made for this movie, which are definitely worthwhile. This is one great example of really responding to community feedback and actually taking it legitimately from a reasonable standpoint. So big ups to the director of the Sonic movie. Let me pull his name up because I forgot, but I know I gave him a lot of credit when he announced on Twitter that he was gonna do it. Sonic movie director. What is his name? Jeff Fowler? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jeff Fowler. Yep, Jeff Fowler. You, sir, are a man of the people, Jeff Fowler. I want you to know that right now. If you ever happen to hear this podcast for whatever weird reason, I just want you to know, Jeff Fowler, I love you. And I know you're not going to let Sonic down. Also, big ups to the designer for Sonic. I forgot who that person is. That person of all people definitely deserves credit. What is their name? Redesign. And that's kind of an injustice of not giving that person credit, because he did some impeccable work redesigning Sonic. Damn it. That is a shame. They really need to acknowledge that. Oh well. But I saw him on Twitter somewhere, but maybe it's Tyson Hesse? No. I think this person designed some of the animated Sonic stuff, but yeah, man, whoever you are that redesigned Sonic, man, you deserve all the cookies and cream, pineapples and cherries and pop in the world. I mean, I'm not trying to kill you, but whatever you prefer, whatever gives you the most joy within legal reason, you deserve the most, man, because you saved Sonic. This whoever this person was saved Sonic, hands down. Goodness. Doing God's work, sir. That's what you're doing. You're doing God's work. Hope you know that. Okay. So I think that's all the news I wanted to cover this week. Let's get into some of that game discussion. So pretty much all of this week, which has been taking up most of my life, is Death Stranding. Finally beat it just yesterday, actually. And man, I'm not gonna get into spoiler territory. I'm just gonna roughly talk about just my generalizations of the game after beating it. It was a great experience. At least I was 55 hours. At least for me, it took. I know I did a couple of side stuff, but it just felt like just felt the same to me. So I just stopped and I just had my bots do all the work for me. But from what I played, it was good. It was good. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't like excellent consistently. There was definitely some great high points, but overall I'd say it was a good game. Would I immediately play it again? Probably not. Maybe if there was some cool worthwhile DLC or New Game Plus stuff, but it doesn't seem like that's even the case. Yeah, it was just like, it was a good experience that I am glad I got to experience and play, just to see a new take on a new type of game genre, which at least from the main game loop of deliver said item from point A to point B, with some kind of interference in between that at various points in the game, is pretty decent loop. I did find myself enjoying it, getting fulfillment. Fulfillment. Actually, you know what? Yeah, that was a pun that was intended. Get some fulfillment out of it. So I mean, yeah, man, it was a worthwhile experience. I am glad I did play it and experience it to kind of get my own impressions of the game, considering how just controversial this game has been for most people, which I totally understand. Playing it and finally beating it now and reflect on my experience from playing the game, I do have to say my mood did change from when I initially started playing the game. I was very invested. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, yeah, I'm loving it. And 20-30 hours in, and then a little bit after that, it was like stuff started getting on my nerves, especially the damn BTs. When you get the damn cutscene, like for the umpteenth time, boy, I just wanted to shoot myself in the head so damn bad, because yeah, those segments are very annoying. It seems like after the 30-hour mark, it just seemed like an intentional device to just slow you down, just to slow you down and make you, I don't know, just make you just slow down. Really didn't seem to feel like it had any significance to it. That was probably my biggest gripe. It's just the BTs as an enemy as a whole. It was really cool the first couple times, and then after that it just got old real quick, just old and annoying real quick, real fast. But outside of that, I did like everything else. The mule enemies were fun to fight and deal with. It did kind of remind you of traditional Metal Gear Solid gameplay with fighting soldiers and stuff and knocking them out and things like that. So all that was cool. It just thinking about it more, I just wish the game could have cut a lot more fat out of it, I think, to make a much more concise and more enjoyable experience that didn't feel like it dragged more than I personally would have liked. It was just a lot of weird artificial, just a lot of weird points where it just felt like artificially lengthening the game unnecessarily for you, which I didn't personally agree with. It just I don't know, it just didn't resonate with me like I wanted it to, or maybe how I was expecting it to, because it just like, it's hard to explain, but it just yeah, man, it's just like at certain points in the game it'll just have you go like a insane amount of distance from point A to point B, just for no necessarily apparent reason, even though I guess technically there is a story purpose for it. But at the same time, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like it's hard to not see it as just like, okay, you're just artificially making me making some plot device for me to go from point A to point B for a very extended period, which personally I didn't enjoy too much at those particular moments. But obviously, with just the greatness and greatness of graphics this game has and contains, it did occupy me pretty well in terms of just being able to bask in all the great environments and, you know, nature, and absorbing it all in was obvious for me, definitely a great aspect of the game that did help traversing like a long trek between point A and point B much more I guess sustainable. So yeah, and then from a story standpoint, I did like the ending. I did like how everything ended. I know that's always an important part of a game, I'd say, in terms of just how the game ends. It's been a lot of bad ones, a lot of good ones, but I think for Death Stranding, I did like how it ended. It was just a lot. I again, kind of referring back to the length, it was just a lot of just dick teasing, really. That's the best way to describe it, where, you know, it's like somebody just messing with you, like, oh, you thought I was done, didn't you? Oh, you saw me roll the credits, huh? Well, nope, we're not done yet. Like, come on, because I ain't gonna lie, I was at a point where, like, I got all these other games I want to play. I got to that point where, like, are we done yet? And then yeah, I was like, okay, we're done. And then, like, you know, I was about to, or it was around my bedtime. I'm like, okay, this is not, I'm not gonna end it tonight. Okay, all right, I just gave up, because, you know, there are, you know, Kojima's famous super duper long cutscenes that are just ridiculously long, and like, okay, all right, this is getting a little uncomfortably long. I'm not sure if should I get some popcorn real quick before I watch all this or whatever, but it was worth it, reflecting on it ultimately. But I will say, if this was not a Hideo Kojima game made with this same design, which is, I guess, kind of redundant or kind of irrelevant, really, because I don't think this game would be possible without a person like Hideo Kojima anyway. But either way, it's like, I don't think I'd stick with it as long as I did, considering just the you know, history that Hideo Kojima has established with his previous games as well. So I mean, it is hard to say, but I'd say overall, for people maybe on the fence about it, I'd say, if anything, just try it out to get your own sense and feel if you like it or not. I think this is that type of game that is like, definitely, if you got a red box nearby or something, just try it first before committing to it, because it is a very different game than a lot of other ones out there, for sure, that you know, some people will, you know, gladly accept, some people will just immediately refuse, like, this is some bullshit. I gotta walk these damn mountains, I gotta climb on stuff. This is not my type of game, not at all. You mean to tell me this is Amazon 2019 simulator? Oh no, I'm not good with this. No, this is trash. Let me throw this away right now. So, but yeah, at least from the main general basic superficial standpoint, I will say this is basically a delivery simulator. That's somewhat of a safe assertion to make, even though I do kind of somewhat slightly disagree with that, but I digress. But I mean, if you want to be that superficial about it, yeah, you could say this is Amazon Amazon, UPS, FedEx Delivery Simulator 2019. I just hate just how superficial that is, because it's much more than that. That's probably my gripe with it. It's much more than that. I feel, much more content with that game overall. So overall, that's my impressions, views of the game after actually finally beating it now. But yeah, definitely glad I did play it and experience it and, get a better understanding of what the game actually is, considering all the mystery and spectacle around this game and what this game actually is. Yeah. One thing too, I did wish it had more of Kojima's touch in terms like, various Easter eggs and, just the abundance of Easter eggs and secrets that, you would find in a typical Metal Gear game. You don't necessarily find as much in there. Of course, there is a fair amount, a reasonable amount in the game, but didn't feel as much as, I guess, kind of blatantly obvious, as well as super duper hidden at the same time. So overall, I don't know. It was a great experience though. I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Death Strand. That's pretty much all I played really this week. I played freaking like methodically and from a very focused standpoint. But yeah, 55 hours. But your mileage may vary depending on if you do some of the side stuff and things like that. But I hear the general play time, if you just critical path the game, is like 45. But again, your mileage may vary. So moving into I guess off topic stuff, if you will. Got around to seeing The Mandalorian. So with Disney Plus, and everybody splitting up to their own IPs and own services that they want you to give money to. I was like, you know what? Let me try this out. Okay, let me see what this is about. And yeah, overall, for at least specifically The Mandalorian, it was pretty great. At least the first 2 episodes. Not gonna spoil it, but some very interesting surprises in terms of just especially if you're a fan of Star Wars, which I consider myself a moderate fan. I'm not like a hardcore fan or go out of my way to see a lot of Star Wars related stuff. Like I do see myself seeing the Rise of the Skywalker movie when that comes out, and obviously I did get, what's the game, Star Wars Fallen Order, which I plan to possibly play next. I'm still debating on what I do want to pick up next. Probably is going to be that, most likely, but yeah. So I mean, episodes are great. Man, this damn robot though, God, that one scene, I forgot. I think it's episode 1. That robot, he don't care. He is just well, I guess he's just a robot. He's calculated and like, you know what? Hey, he's just very analytical. If this is this, then this is this. That's it. It's no in between. Something about that always fascinates me. That just somebody who could be just so purely analytical and not have any inch of emotion and just looks at things from just a very purely analytical standpoint, really, which is I always found fascinating. But just him as a character. With the damn guns. I'm not trying to spoil stuff, but he was great. He was very great. I really hope we see more of him. It seems like from the promotional stuff that they do show a lot more of him, or he reoccurs in a lot of instances. So, but yeah, I am interested. I have a trial, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to commit, but I was like, okay. And man, Disney Plus is playing it smart now with their modeling. They're not like Netflix where you can just straight binge the whole series or season in one sitting. They intentionally staggered out, which I believe for The Mandalorian specifically, it comes out every Friday. So I was like, okay, y'all smart. Y'all y'all not liking well, who do you call those people? I guess you wouldn't really call them anything necessarily, but you know, people who just want to just get that out of their system and then just be done with the service, I guess. So it's fine. It's okay. I did find myself just trying to explore the library and so like, okay, all right, Disney, what do you got then? All right, you got Marvel, you got Star Wars, you got the Disney Channel original shows, and I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, obviously, you know, the Disney movies and stuff like that. So I was legitimately impressed by the selection, at least for the Marvel movies. That's probably my biggest interest in terms of Marvel, Marvel superhero related stuff. But I found was pretty interesting. A lot of the movies were still under licensing with, I think, presumably Netflix and maybe possibly Hulu or Amazon Video to some extent. I want to say Netflix is the primary source that has a lot of their movies, I believe, which, you know, they say, hey, this movie isn't available now, but you can put it on your list. And, you know, when it does come out, you can view it or whatever. But at least like some of the recent movies like Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Captain Marvel, I can't think of the more recent ones are available, but some of the older ones or the more notable ones like Black Panther, what comes to mind? I think Civil War was available. The original Captain America, but I can't think of the other ones that were omitted. I want to say Age of Ultron, that might have been exclusive still to Netflix for a while or whatever via their agreement. I forgot, but in general, just to give you an impression of that for kind of Disney Plus, I did find myself they had some hits out there, some definitely some hidden gems, I'd say. I found myself watching X-Men, the original animated series from way back, like 96. That was a fun time because just catching up on reflecting on some of the I know for some reason I think I had like the VHS of the freaking first episode that, you know, when you're a kid, you don't know any better. You'll just keep watching the same damn VHS until you break that damn thing. And man, it was just like I remembered. It's just like a whole hit of nostalgia just got me. So that was pretty cool. They definitely have a lot of classics that I think a lot of people will enjoy. But overall, it's a legitimate service, but at the same time, it's like, another damn freaking subscription service that you have to debate on if you actually going to use. And then, you know, they're going to try to, you know, oh, hey, yeah, subscribe, man. And please forget your subscription so we can take your money, you know, and hopefully you don't use it. And that's just a win-win for us. So, you know, but I digress. But yeah, overall, that was pretty great. I guess I'll reluctantly keep the service. I don't know. I just feel like outside of the Mandalorian, I don't see myself really using it that much. Maybe with viewing, getting some nostalgia feels with X-Men or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see. Outside of that, caught the latest episode of Walking Dead, and man, I have to tell you, shit is getting juicy. Okay, it's been a minute since the Walking Dead start, you know, getting some juicy story arcs, and boy, yeah, some stuff is picking up. Shit is hitting a fan, and I'm very, very curious to see how things are gonna go. I believe this upcoming Sunday is the season finale or mid-season finale, and boy, yeah, because what happened this episode, not spoiling it, man, boy, and you know what, yo, for the said thing that happened in this past episode, it didn't register at first, and I'm like, wait a minute, what is this dude, why is he in? And then after, like, because I like to watch the talk show that kind of recaps a lot of the episode, kind of process what the hell just happened. and I was like, oh my god, what in the mess. I was a little mad, and then I didn't see it coming actually. And man, yeah, cause boy, it was played very well. It be the people you least expect, man. That's the least. That's the least I'll say there. Man, but yeah, it is getting good. It is getting good. Not gonna lie, I am very surprised by how they are maintaining this this show with the omission of a particular character not being in the series anymore, and I guess evidently another character that's not gonna be in the series anymore. Not to spoil it for people that maybe don't know already, but yeah, man, Walking Dead is hitting its stride. I'm very surprised. As somebody who's been moderately maintaining interest in the show. This is definitely one of the high points this season, I'd say for sure. And I'm very curious. Yeah, very curious to see how it's gonna play out. Ultimately, definitely for sure. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much been all I have been up to that I can recall, at least. Yeah, that's really been it. That's really been it. At least worth notable, I guess. But I think that will do it for this episode of Switch Your Sights. If you did enjoy the show, I guess whether live or via podcast, feel free to like, rate, subscribe, or provide any constructive feedback in all or any of your popular podcast platforms. If you have any questions you'd like to submit to the show that will be ideally read on the show at some point, feel free to send a email to aswitchtv@gmail.com. Obviously, not obviously, I don't know why I keep saying obviously, because it's not obvious, it's not apparent, but you can catch me on Twitch TV /aswitch live, where I do these shows live every Thursday, ideally around 7-ish, which I try to keep that time, but things varies, and I tend to switch some stuff around if need be, but you can always at least expect me on Thursdays at some point. That's maybe the best way to explain it. But you can also catch me on youtube.com/aswitch, which I plan to at some point, when I do get time, to flesh that channel out to some extent, some way, shape, or form. That's yet to be, I guess, ultimately determined. But outside of that, thanks for watching or listening, and until next time.